Hey, how's it going? It's Will Ripley here with Campfire Guitar Star. Welcome to episode number 3 of super easy electric guitar songs for beginners. Turns out there's a lot of you guys looking for some easy guitar songs, so this is episode 3. I've got another batch of really great easy electric guitar songs or acoustic guitar songs for you. As long as you got a guitar and it's in tune, you're going to be well taken care of in this lesson. We're going to be breaking into everything from Tom Petty to Led Zeppelin to Divo to Heart to Lowrider by War. So I've got another good batch of tunes for you that I think that are some really good easy songs. They're fun to play and they sound cool. So also make sure to get the PDF for this lesson. You'll find that in the comments or the description below. You can download that for free, and that's like our PDF with all the tabs. Also make sure that I link my video in there for you on how to read tabs, which, as you can imagine, for your path as a guitar player is going to be really, really helpful to know how to do that. So let's just hop right in, but also make sure to stick around to the end of the lesson. I'm going to make sure that you get access to my entire free beginner guitar system called 5 Minute Guitar. And so stick around for that. You'll also find that the registration in the description below for that. So the very first tune I want to get into is Dazed and Confused by Led Zeppelin. Okay, so we're going to be using a chromatic movement here, which means basically one fret at a time. So I'll just go ahead and demonstrate it for you here. It sounds something like this. All right, so as you can see, I'm doing some kind of advanced techniques there, like bends and vibratos. So I'm bending a string, and then vibrato is another form of bending. However, we can actually simplify this song to just do chromatic movements. So if you actually gear up all of your fingers, you can actually do this all with one finger. Why don't we just grab our first finger, just do it first. So I'm up on 10th fret of the A string. So the second string down, up on the 10th fret. I'm going to hit my low string first though, and then I'm going to stop that string. I usually just mute it with my right hand, and I'm going to start from the 10th fret and just descend down 9, 8, 7, and then it's really cool. All you do is you just hit that low string again, and then 10, 9, 8, 7, all on the low E string. So that all together with one finger, without those advanced bending and vibrato techniques, would sound something like this. So you can see that that last note on the 7th fret gets chopped off a little bit. So all these are long, 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 short, right? And then long, long, short. Okay, so that's kind of a little rhythmic thing. So of course, whenever you're trying to learn a song, it's helpful to dial that song up, whether that's on YouTube or Spotify or however you ingest music. Get that up and listen to that track so we know like what you're trying to play. And so if you can kind of hum along with it and use your kind of your body as rhythm and your voice to get the melody going on, that's going to be so much easier when you try to transfer it to guitar. Does that make sense? So what we're going to do is let's move on. Okay, get the PDF below to get the tabs and stuff like that. Just pause this video, rewind it. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to advance that in just a minute. We're going to add in some power chords, but let's just focus on the single note riffs. And as you can see, I was playing that with one finger that whole time. And again, doing a chromatic movement. So, and that's what we try to do here, is try to like tie in just a little bit of theory, a little bit of knowledge, as well as learning cool songs. So anyways, so you can definitely play that chromatically with one finger, but as a guitar teacher, I would not be doing my job if I didn't tell you to start with your pinky finger and descend down. Use all of your fingers, right? Get them all involved there. I've just got my thumb planted firmly in the back of the neck. Okay, and to just expand on this topic, maybe you've seen this before, but you definitely see this kind of scale done. It's not like really a complete scale. It's not even a chromatic scale. It's just chromatic movements across all the strings. So because we're on the 7th fret, I'll choose to play it there. Although you could play this anywhere, but check it out. You can just climb up. And then you can go down. So that right there is something that I've seen Slash from Guns N' Roses say that he does before he goes on stage. You know, good warm up. Also is something that we teach to almost all of our beginner guitar students as something to just kind of like get your fingers moving across the fretboard, engaging all 4 fingers. Also, let's not forget about our pick here. Okay, I've just got my pick held between my 2 fingers, but the thing that so many people forget is that little finger curl around the pick. And I'm just using a medium gauge pick here. It's got a little bit of flex to it, but it's still pretty stiff. So that's kind of like how I like my picks. But what you can do is get that right hand, and it doesn't matter if you're on an electric or acoustic, but get that right hand planted down on the bridge, and that's going to give you so much more accuracy for the single notes, okay? So when you start going through this whole scale, and then to get it fast, but the main focus here is to play it slow, controlled, and get clear notes, and then build up speed after you get kind of those basics in place. But as you can see, I've got my right hand planted, I've got that finger curl around the pick, so everything is nice and set up here. And I'm just using all my 4 fingers, nice and close up to the frets. And then you can see that once I start getting to the higher strings, I don't want to keep my hand totally planted. I actually want to move it along with my left hand. So the left and right hand actually move together, okay? So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you watch that right hand, see how it starts gliding down. Okay, and it's okay to touch these strings, and it's actually better that way because you'll mute them. Okay, so that's a quick technique breakdown of like how to play the guitar and how to play riffs. I go into this really fully in depth. I've got 2 full-length videos inside of 5 Minute Guitar, which you can register for free down below. But that's kind of like a quick crash course into some of the technique that you want to have. And hey, check it out. You can play Dazed and Confused by Led Zeppelin. And like I said, we'll expand on those topics and talk about how to kind of elevate that at the end of the lesson. So let's go ahead and grab another easy electric guitar song. We're going to do Running Down a Dream by Tom Petty, another chromatic movement. Here we go. So again, a chromatic movement. So we're going to be going down on the 7th fret. Okay, but we're going to do an open string in between each one of those notes. So we start with an open string. 7, open 6, open 5, open 3. So that's not a chromatic movement because we're moving more than 1 fret. And then another open string. So that in itself right there is really the riff. And as soon as you put on Running Down a Dream by Tom Petty, you'll hear that. That's the very first line that opens up the song. Okay? And actually that guitar doesn't play that chord, but I just find like when you're playing it alone, it kind of fills it up to play a full-fledged E major chord. Okay? And if you caught episode 2 of Super Easy Electric Guitar Songs, we were talking about Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, which went. So it's similar in that sense that we're just filling out this single note riff with a great big chord. Okay? So if you don't know that chord, no worries, but it's going to be there for you in the PDF if you need it, and you can just pause the video and work out that chord. But let's just focus on this. So the big thing with this riff is just the placement. And if you know the song, then it's just as simple as that. Just put on the track, see if you can get it up to speed. However, it is pretty fast. It's pretty smoking riff, even though it's so simple. So just start out slow. And you can see I'm descending down with my fingers, 3, 2, 1, and another 1 on that 3rd fret. So you definitely want to engage some other fingers because that will help you play it up to speed. Because if you try to play with this one finger, I mean, you can do it, but definitely you're going to get more speed and stand a better chance of getting it up to speed, like the same rate as Tom Petty and the Boys, if you use other fingers, okay? So that's Running Down a Dream by Tom Petty. Make sure to check out that track. The next one I want to show you is originally done by Bob Marley, later covered and maybe made more famous by Eric Clapton, but it's just a really simple riff from I Shot the Sheriff. Okay, and this is going to go great into the next riff that we're going to talk about, which is Lowrider by War. So again, what we want to do is integrate just a little bit of theory and technique. So what you're actually playing here is a G minor pentatonic scale. And the pentatonic scale is just like so important for rock, blues, and pop, and just like guitar-based music. Okay, so this riff is derived totally out of that scale. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to integrate some more strings now. So we're going to be up on the D string of the 5th fret. I'm going to start with my 3rd finger, because what that's going to do is help me descend down the riff and descend down the scale. So we got 5th fret D string, 3rd fret D string, 5th fret, 3rd fret. And then what you can actually do here is to kind of get an idea what the pentatonic scale looks like is you can do your pinky finger on the 6th fret and then your 1st finger on the 3rd fret. Okay, so that right there, like that is the minor pentatonic scale in the key of G. Okay, so again, probably the most important guitar scale to know. So what we can do is we can actually use that exact scale to play this riff and also show you another way to play it. So we can descend down the scale, and then all you do is you go back up to this note, 5th fret of the A string, and just go down the scale again. So down the scale from the D string on the 5th fret. Okay, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, down 5 notes, and then start here. And it's the same thing, you just descend down the scale. And then, of course, to get the rhythm, you're going to want to check out I Shot the Sheriff by Bob Marley and Eric Clapton. So we go. Just cycle that. One more time. Okay, so now another way to play that final note, because maybe you're finding that that pinky finger note is kind of a little awkward, and well, it kind of is, okay? And so what would be more likely the way that Eric Clapton would have played that is instead of the pinky finger on the 6th fret of the low E, we can play that the 1st finger on the 1st fret of the A string. And that's kind of a confusing thing about the guitar is that you can play the same notes in more than one place, okay? But it ends up being kind of cool too because we can get different sounds out of different strings and stuff like that, even though it's the same note. So that's kind of part of what makes the guitar magical. So here we go. Okay, so that's version number 2. So we got and then just go down to the first fret instead of using your pinky finger. And I get a little slide in there, but you don't have to. You can just cycle those notes individually. Okay, so make sure to grab the PDF for that one. I feel like reading it out on tab is going to be so much easier, but you can also just pause the video, roll it back, and find those notes and get that riff under your finger. Okay, so like I said, this brings me to the next one, which is Low Rider by War, and it uses the same scale, the same, like really similar techniques, but just a little bit more of a riff. Plus, there's 2 guitar parts here. So I'll go ahead and play the first riff. It sounds something like this. So what's cool about this is that there's a second guitar part that actually sounds like this. Two, three, four. So 2 really easy parts, and get this, if you have a guitar player buddy, one guy can play one part, the other guy plays the other part. They go together like peanut butter and jam. Okay, so check it out. So that very first riff, again, we're going to use a lot of the same notes from I Shot the Sheriff. And so we're going to start on the first fret of the low E string. 3rd fret, 1st fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret of the A string. So we just really are climbing up that G minor pentatonic scale. And that rhythm, again, if you listen to the track and kind of internalize it with your voice and your body, it's going to be really easy to translate this to guitar. But we want to think about it like dom dom bom 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 dom 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 dom. So just play that slow. We got 1st fret. Okay, so that's really probably the trickiest part, is switching back and forth from the D string to A string. So let's just go ahead and play that nice and slow together. So we'll go like don, don, ready, go. So while guitar player 1 is playing that riff, guitar player 2 can come in with this riff, which starts at the 7th fret of the high E string. Okay, so again, we're going to want to get our right hand planted and just glide it down so your wrist is still straight. We don't want to see any kind of weird angled wrist here. If you just get that hand just glided down the bridge just a little bit so it's still planted and solid. And then we get the second melody, which comes in. Ba 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 ba. And again, the 2 parts go together like peanut butter and jam when they're lined up properly. So here we go. We got 7th fret. Okay, so we got 7, 7, 7. So da 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 da. So about 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we go up to 8th fret, up to 10th fret. Then you're going to move over to the B string on the 8th fret. You can do this little triangle kind of diagonal shape back up to that 7th fret. Okay, so again, knowing the melody is going to be really helpful. Grabbing that tab and downloading that so you can follow along with the notes is going to be really helpful. And of course, just pause the video, roll it back, and let's work our way through it nice and slow. So we're going to start on the 7th fret here. We're gonna go da 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 do. 1, 2, ready, go. Gonna hold that last note. 2, ready, go. One more time. How about with one finger? So you can see that definitely using other fingers is going to be really helpful. So that's kind of like a guitar position, you know. So what I mean by a guitar position, it's kind of like a scale position, right? So I've got my thumb placed in the back. I'm utilizing my first finger, second finger, and pinky finger here. Okay, and the very last bit of the melody is dun 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 dun. So I'm doing a little slide there, or you can just hit the note. Or you can bend the note. Okay, so there's all kinds of options there. But yeah, so those last two notes are just 6th fret of the B string up to 8th fret. So dun 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 dun. Okay, so that's Lowrider by War. Make sure to get that in your Spotify playlist or whatever the case is. However you listen to music, just get that in there. The more you know how it's supposed to sound, again, the easier it's going to be to translate to guitar. So those are those 2 parts. Again, see if you can get another person. Maybe you have a friend who wants to play guitar. Maybe you guys can both learn this from this video together. And again, I'll have both parts tabbed out in the PDF. So make sure to get a hold of that. But yeah, what a fun track. It's super groovy, danceable, and just a classic tune by a classic band. And yeah, guitar part 1, guitar part 2, super fun stuff. All right, so if you've been sticking with me this far, and appreciate it, by the way, you remember that we went over Dazed and Confused by Led Zeppelin, and I showed you a kind of a simple version, but I did open it up with kind of like, you know, the advanced version. So what we're gonna do now is, now that we got our fingers moving on some probably easier riffs, and we learned a more beginner version of Dazed and Confused, just descending down chromatically. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the next part and also how to kind of advance that and play it exactly like Jimmy Page does from Led Zeppelin, which is utilizing bends. So maybe we should talk about that first. So as you know, you got 10, 9, 8, 7, 10, 9, 8, 7. Those are the notes, okay? Now what we can do is we can actually grab the 9th fret and bend it into the 10th fret. Okay, so we can bend the pitch of the note. So instead of going, we can go. Okay, it makes it just sound like a little more drawn out or a little more evil or just a little more vibey with that bend in there, right? So got all 3 fingers lined up. So they're all pulling on that string, okay? If you try to do a bend with one finger, you can be really, really challenged, okay? And it's the same thing actually with the last 2 notes. You're just gonna go down to 7th fret and bend that note. And maybe you wanna bend it with your 2nd finger so you can get your 1st finger behind it. Get a little more muscle on it, but I do find your 1st finger is probably the most kind of strong and, you know, I don't know, like worthy of doing bends than your other fingers. So anyway, so once you get that basic part down, what you can do is expand that into these bends. So that's just 9, the 9th fret, bend to just regular fretted 9th fret. And then we go down to the 7th fret and we do a bend note on the 7th fret. And and then a regular fretted note on the 7th fret. So really, you just got to worry about those 2 frets to play those 4 notes total. So again, you'd want to get the very first version down that we talked about already. Like if you don't have that down, this next one is going to be really difficult to play. So make sure you roll back that. That was the very first kind of song lesson that we did today. But yeah, so now what we're talking about is advancing it with a bend to play it really exactly like Jimmy Page does. So we got something like this. Again, I'm adding that vibrato, which is just like a smaller kind of bent note. Okay, so let's talk about this next part. So this next part, love those 2 parts together. So what we're going to do is introduce you to a power chord. So we're going to hit a power chord, which is a 2-fingered and 2-noted chord. So it is indeed a chord. Basically, a chord is basically just 2 or more notes put together. They're kind of, as long as they're different notes, it's technically a chord. So here we got this note and this note. So as you can hear, they're different notes, but they're played together. They sound powerful. Okay, and we call them a power chord on the guitar. So I've got my first finger 7th fret of the low E string, and I've got my 3rd finger on the 9th fret of the A string. I'm going to hit those chords, or those 2 notes, just 3 times. And I'm going to do this cool little move. You can actually play these single notes. And this is actually very similar to a Black Sabbath song. I think it's called Paranoid. But let me know in the comments below if it reminds you of a Black Sabbath song as well. And anyway, so we got 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9 on the A string and D string, okay? So, but the technique that's actually taking place is a hammer-on. So you can actually hit this note, hammer on, hit this note, and hammer on. Okay, so as you can see, it's just one picked note. So I hit the note, but then hammer on with my 3rd finger. So I'm like literally whacking my 3rd finger into the 9th fret so hard and so fast that it's fretting the note, and it's playing a note just as loud as if I were to pick it. Okay, so that's a hammer on. So okay, awesome, awesome. Must know guitar technique, and this is a great tune to start practicing that on, as well as power chords. So we got 1, 2, 3, hammer on, hammer on. And you're back into that first riff. So that last note that you land on in the first riff is the first note of your power chord. So it's actually pretty easy to get right into it. Okay, so let me know how you guys make out with that one. Definitely, there's some advanced techniques in there. You could play it really simply, you know, like we had already talked about, but wanted to get that power chord. We talked about hammer-ons and bends and vibrato, all in one riff. We'll really like, you know, the one song, 2 parts. So the first part and the second part. So yeah, covering a lot of ground there. So let me know how you guys made out with that one. Is that not considered a super easy electric guitar song? I don't know. You got to let me know in the comments below. So Anyways, let's move along. Let's kind of follow this technique a little bit. And with the power chord, okay, power chords, we love them. They sound powerful. They sound like rock and roll. So what we're gonna do is a fun riff, a weird song, a weird music video especially. You're definitely gonna wanna check it out, called Whip It by Divo. So the riff sounds something like this. Okay, I remember a 12-year-old student came in and we teach one-on-one lessons all over the world to all kinds of people. And one of our students wanted to learn this song. And so I checked it out. I was like, oh yeah, I know this song. And I was like, wait a second, that's a perfect song to teach. Okay, so Divo, Whip It. So we got a couple of open strings. So that's pretty easy. Just a couple of notes on your low E. 5th fret, 7th fret, and then 5th fret on your A string. Okay, so that's pretty easy so far. And then right there, you're gonna line up a power chord, okay? So the power chord is exactly like we had talked about in Dazed and Confused by Led Zeppelin. However, of course, we're playing it in a different song, different set of strings, different set of frets. But what's similar is your first finger is always gonna be right here, and your third finger is always gonna be right here. And what I mean is that your third finger is always 2 frets up and 1 string over. And that's always going to build that power chord. So no matter where you put this thing, 2 frets up, 1 string over, that's going to get you that power chord. And this is, you know, really where like all those guys, the big kind of like 90s pop punk movement, Blink-182, and you know, so many bands just utilize power chords like crazy, especially in the 90s. But it was really, you know, a Black Sabbath technique and a very old school technique as well. But yeah, Green Day. Nirvana. So there's a couple different ways to play power chords. As you can see, I really like playing these power chords with my first finger and my pinky. Often they're taught with your third finger. It really doesn't matter. I just find I can move these power chords around a lot easier with my first finger and pinky finger a lot of the times. But I would actually suggest to learn all power chords. So we talked about this one, and you can actually add on your pinky finger. You can play that by flattening out your third finger. Okay, you can just play the 2 notes. You play those 2 notes with just your first finger and your pinky finger, okay? But at the end of the day, it's really just all about this note, 2 frets up, 1 string over, to get that powerful sounding chord, okay? So, getting back to Whip It by Divo, we got... So we talked about those first few notes, 0, 0, 5, 7, 5. Build up that power chord, and then just slide that power chord down to the next set of strings, and you can repeat. Okay, and then kind of the next step with this one is a couple of descending notes. Okay, so that's 5, 5, 3, 2, and then you start over. So to play the single note version, it would sound like this. And we can do it nice and slow, and I'm gonna bypass the power chords and play that full melody. Okay, so we got... Okay, so you can kind of mix that one up, but let me just jam on it for a second. You'll get the PDF below with all those versions, the power chords with the single notes, all that good stuff. Okay, so here it goes. so there's Divo, Whip It. Really bizarre music video. Definitely check that out. Okay, so the last one I want to play is and show you is Crazy on You by Heart. You heard me play that on the intro. Okay, so this one we can kind of beef up with power chords too. So check it out. So I just showed you the single note version. But yeah, if you're kind of getting the idea here from the Divo song, was we can kind of either play the single notes or you can build them up into power chords. And that's kind of a cool move, like to change a single note riff into a power chord riff. Sometimes it can be like way too hard, but sometimes you can, again, like I said, just beef it up. So there's the single note version, and here it is beefed up with power chords. So here we go. So there's the first one, right off the bat. Okay, so let's get the single note version down first and then beef it up with power chords. So you'll find this in the tab and how to read tab and all that good stuff, but let's break it down nice and slow and where these notes are. Again, get that right hand planted, get that finger curl around the pick, get in a nice position here. First note is going to be your open A string, but what you're going to do is then your next note is your first fretted note is going to be on the second fret of the D string. Okay, so a lot of fretted notes and open strings here. So we got, and we're combining all these, the bottom three strings. So we got. Okay, and then we hold that note. So let's talk about that first part. So open, second fret, open D, and then descend down from your third fret of the A string. Okay, so 3, 2, 0, or open, and then we're going to land on that first fret. So you play it a couple times. But you do finish it off with that third fret, and then you start again. So. So once you get that part down, let's switch into the next part. So it sounds something like this. Go to the third fret, then you're going to start on that first fretted note. So a lot of the similar movements going on here. So we got open, fret, open, descend down, right? So it's always gonna start with that, right? So that's like really the big thing that you got to get with that riff, and then it just kind of alternates around with the notes that it lands on after. So that the end part again, your kind of first different note is gonna be the third fret of the low E, down to your first fret, and so on. So check it out. So we go. Right back to this part, and then right back to this part. Okay, end of riff. So again, learning how to read tab and having the tab in front of you and having the video will probably guarantee that you learn this riff. Anyways, let's just go ahead. Me and you will take the whole riff, start to finish, nice and slow, okay? So we'll go like don, 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 don. 2, ready, go. Okay, now we're gonna switch. Okay, so that's the part that you're going to want to pause, pull back, play over and over and over. Make sure you get that. And like I said, we can beef that up with power chords. So the very first power chord you can do is an open string power chord. So we can change this into sounding like this. Right? It just sounds so much more powerful, right? So we've got open A and that first note. Okay, and we can hit that note. Instead of just one singular note, we can beef it up. Throw in that third finger on the third fret of the next string down, the A string, and then slide that whole thing up, okay? Now this isn't how Hart plays it. However, I'm sure that you'd agree that it just sounds a little bit more powerful when you don't have a bass player, a second guitar player, a drummer, and an amazing singer all with you in the same room. You know, if you're just one guitar player playing that riff, I definitely find that that's a good way to make it sound a little more muscular, a little more tough, right? So we go. Here's a little trick also. Instead of playing the G power chord, here's a super awesome cheater method to play a G. I'm literally, as you can see, just playing my second finger on the third fret of the low E string. I'm muting my A string, but I'm letting the D, G, and B strings ring open. So when I go ahead and through that again, I'll play my G instead of the G power chord with the G chord like this. That what would that sound like is like this. All right, so we saved the best one for last. Crazy on You by Hart definitely has quite a bit going on there. The single note riff is even challenging on its own. You got to get that right hand planted, get that pick with the finger curl, all that alternate picking, down and up strokes. You know, of course, there's a lot of notes in that riff. And then we also talked about beefing it up with these chords and power chords and stuff like that. So I kind of saved the hardest for last. And hopefully the other tunes that you learned in this lesson were helpful, easy, attainable, and you're playing some cool songs. So let me know if you like this video by showing me a like, a subscribe, a comment below. But yeah, make sure you get a hold of that PDF. We've got the PDF with all the tabs, all the chords, everything that you need to go along with this lesson in the description and in the comments below. So find that, download that, we'll email it right to you. And also speaking about emailing you, I want to get you access to the free course. It's called 5-Minute Guitar, and you can just get the videos for free, and you can get access to that. And you'll find that right in the description below. Also, if you register for the PDF for this lesson, you'll also get access to the 5-Minute Guitar course. And that's just the videos, but if you do want the accompanying handbook, okay, and this is kind of what we're talking about, like, you know, you can watch this video, but it's also really helpful to have the PDF and to have the stuff written down, right? So if you want to get the 5-Minute Guitar course, we have a whole 160-page book that goes along with that bad boy. And we'll ship this book right to your door. It's actually a free book. All you do is just pay the shipping, okay? So it's $9.95 if you're anywhere in the US, and anywhere else it's just $11.95. It's a free book and goes right with the 5-Minute Guitar video course. So all the details for that, our one-on-one lessons, all of our other courses. Yes, there's a lot of awesome free stuff that we offer you as a beginner guitar player. And I definitely want you to get the ball rolling and start like achieving some success with the guitar, right? And so that's really our goal. And then if you like what we do, if you're resonating with what we do, then definitely check out some of our other stuff, like one-on-one lessons. Like imagine getting coached by me or Mike B from Campfire Guitar Star. You know, we do that with students all over the world, and get our book, our other video courses, all that kind of stuff. But you can get our book for free, get that video course for free, get that PDF for free. So there's a lot of stuff that will definitely help you get the wheels turning. I'm here to support you. Hopefully you enjoyed this lesson, and let me know in the comments below how you made out with this stuff. This is episode 3 of Super Easy Electric Guitar Songs for Beginners. We have 2 other ones out already, so make sure to check those out and all the other videos on this YouTube channel. So definitely by subscribing, you'll get updated with the new videos that we release. And let's rock the house together. Until the next lesson, keep on ripping it up.